Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. And let's just say today's news cycle is especially active.
Yeah, active is a good word for it. We've got tariffs, AI showdowns, and maybe even some cracks in the banking system.
A lot to unpack. Where should we even begin?
Well, how about with a familiar face? Former President Trump is back in the headlines.
Ah, right. But this time it's not about elections, huh?
Nope, it's about tariffs. He's calling for something called reciprocal tariffs.
So basically matching whatever tariffs other countries slap on U.S. goods. Kind of a tit for tat.
Exactly. Like if country X puts a 30% tariff on American cars, we hit their cars with a 30% tariff right back.
Interesting strategy.
Yeah.
But historically, reciprocal tariffs, they've had mixed results.
What do you mean?
Well, on the one hand, they can protect domestic industries, right? But the flip side is it can escalate trade tensions, maybe even spark a trade war.
And wouldn't that hurt consumers in the end? I mean, higher prices and all that?
It definitely could. The impact on your wallet, it really depends on what you're buying and where it comes from.
Okay, so tariffs. Potentially messy. Let's shift gears to something completely different. Elon Musk and OpenAI.
Yes, the battle for the future of AI, right?
Exactly. Musk and a group of investors offered a massive sum, I think it was $97.4 billion, to take control of OpenAI.
Yeah, the company behind ChatGPT, those chat bots everyone's been talking about, but the CEO, he declined the offer.
Which, of course, has fueled all sorts of speculation.
Right, like, what's Musk really after? And what does all this mean for the direction of AI?
I mean, Musk has been pretty vocal about the potential dangers of AI, hasn't he?
He has. He's all about responsible development, making sure AI is used ethically.
So maybe this bid was his way of trying to influence OpenAI, ensure they keep things in check.
It's possible. This whole situation really raises some crucial questions about the balance between AI innovation and safety. Questions we all should be thinking about, really.
No doubt. And speaking of things we should be thinking about, let's talk about a development in the U.S. banking system.
Oh, this is about Senator Warren and the FDIC, right?
Yes, she's raised concerns about understaffing at the FDIC, which, as you know, insures bank deposits. She says it could put the entire banking system at risk.
Wow, that's a pretty serious claim. But I can see why she's worried.
Me too. What happens if the FDIC can't function properly?
Well, public confidence in banks could plummet. I mean, if people are worried their deposits aren't safe, that could trigger a whole cascade of economic problems.
So even if the economy seems strong on the surface, there could be these underlying vulnerabilities.
Exactly. And that brings us back to President Trump's tariff proposal, actually.
Oh, how so?
Well, his plan has been sending shockwaves through a lot of Asian economies. Many of them have big trade surpluses with the U.S.
Right, they export a lot more to us than they import.
Yep, and they're worried this could escalate into a full-blown trade war, which, of course, would be bad news for everyone.
So what are they doing about it?
Well, it seems like a lot of them are trying to appease President Trump, make concessions to avoid those tariffs.
I've even heard some are offering special deals or increasing purchases of American goods.
Exactly. But there's definitely a sense of anxiety, apprehension. These countries, their economies are really intertwined with the U.S.
And tariffs could really disrupt that. So they're walking a tightrope, trying to protect their interests, but also avoid a major conflict.
Exactly. It's a tough spot to be in. And it's not just limited to Asia either.
Right. Hong Kong just filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, challenging the U.S. tariffs.
And their argument hinges on Hong Kong's status as a separate customs territory from mainland China.
It's interesting, right, how one policy decision can trigger all these complex legal and economic challenges.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of the global economy, doesn't it? And how actions in one part of the world can ripple outwards.
A delicate balance, that's for sure, between domestic interests and those global relationships.
Absolutely. And in the end, it's often the consumer who ends up paying the price. Higher prices, fewer choices, all because of these trade disputes.
It's a lot to think about, and we're just getting started.
Speaking of paying the price, we've also got some news from the energy sector.
Oh, right. This is about coal, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like coal demand is actually surging despite all the talk about renewable energy.
So the world isn't quite ready to ditch coal just yet.
Not entirely. There are a few things at play here.
Like what?
Well, a lot of emerging economies are growing rapidly, and that means they need more energy. And coal, it's still a major source of energy in many parts of the world.
Makes sense. Plus, I guess there's still some challenges with renewable energy infrastructure, right?
Exactly. It takes time and a lot of investment to build up a robust renewable energy system.
And in the meantime, some countries might be worried about energy security, making sure they have a reliable source of power.
Right. It's not as simple as just flipping a switch, unfortunately. Transitioning to a clean energy future, it's a complex process.
Totally. But speaking of transitions, the electric vehicle market is definitely moving full speed ahead.
Yeah, especially in China. Chinese EV makers are really shaking things up.
What are they doing?
Well, they're offering all sorts of incentives like zero down payments, interest-free loans, that kind of thing.
Wow, that's aggressive.
It is, and it's putting pressure on those established automakers,
Yeah.
the big names, to step up their game.
So in a way, it's good for consumers, right? More competition, better deals.
Absolutely. It could really accelerate the shift to electric vehicles and make them more affordable for everyone, which is great news for the planet, too.
It's interesting how some industries are adapting to change, while others, well, they're facing some criticism.
Oh, this is about Google Calendar, right?
Yep. They removed those special labels for observances like Black History Month and Pride Month.
Yeah, I saw that. And it sparked quite a debate, didn't it?
It did. It's about the role of technology platforms in society,
Hmm.
Do they have a responsibility to promote diversity and cultural awareness?
It's a tough question. I mean, these platforms have become such an integral part of our lives. Their decisions have a real impact.
So we need to hold them accountable. Make sure they're considering the social consequences of their actions.
Exactly. Speaking of accountability, we've got some former Treasury chiefs sounding the alarm about President Trump and Elon Musk.
What are they worried about?
Well, they're saying that some of their actions could put America at risk of a form of default.
Default. That sounds serious.
It is. Their concern is that if people lose trust in U.S. institutions, in the stability of the financial system, that could have a domino effect.
So it's not just about specific policies, it's about maintaining confidence, right?
Yep. Responsible leadership matters, especially when it comes to financial matters.
It all circles back to trust, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, let's shift gears back to those reciprocal tariffs for a second.
Sure. What's the latest?
Well, there's some reports suggesting that these tariffs could actually lead to job losses in the U.S.
Oh, how so?
A former U.S. ambassador to Singapore, he warned that certain industries, like the auto industry, could be hit pretty hard, which could mean job cuts.
So the tariffs are meant to protect domestic industries, but there's a risk of unintended consequences.
Exactly. It's not a simple equation. There are always trade-offs.
And amidst all these economic concerns, a bit of a lighter note. Captain America star Anthony Mackie, he's been talking about his hometown.
Oh, yeah, New Orleans, right.
He seems really connected to the city, talks about how it keeps him grounded.
And there's been some speculation that he might be looking into investing in real estate there.
It's kind of heartwarming, right?
Yeah.
Even with everything going on in the world, that sense of place, that connection to home, it still matters.
It does. It's a reminder that even celebrities are human, with their own personal ties and priorities. And it also highlights the appeal of investing in something you believe in, something that has personal significance.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of investments, let's get back to the bigger economic picture for a moment. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. Trade wars, AI, banking, energy, even a little bit of Hollywood real estate.
It really does feel like the world is changing faster than ever, doesn't it?
It does. And with all these headlines flying around, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when it comes to our own finances.
Totally. You turn on the news and it's like, is the sky falling? Should I be panicking? What should I do with my money?
Exactly. So with all that in mind, what's the one key takeaway you'd give our listeners today? Something they can apply to their own financial lives.
Focus on what you can control. You can't control what happens in Washington or in the global markets, but you can control your own financial decisions.
That's a great point. Don't get caught up in the hype, in the daily anxieties in the news cycle. Focus on the long game.
Right. What are your goals? What steps can you take today to get closer to those goals?
It's about creating that sense of stability, of security amidst all the uncertainty.
Exactly. And even small, consistent actions can have a huge impact over time.
It's like that story about Tony Hawk, the skateboarder. He bought his first house when he was only 17.
Yeah. It might have seemed like a small thing then, but it gave him that financial foundation, that peace of mind later on.
It shows that you don't have to make these huge, sweeping changes. Just make smart choices, be consistent, and let those small steps add up over time.
Exactly. So if I could give your listeners one piece of actionable advice, it would be Automate your savings.
Ah, set it and forget it, right?
Yep. Have a certain amount automatically transferred to a savings or investment account each month. You won't even miss it.
It's like building financial fitness through small, consistent habits.
Exactly. No need for crash diets or extreme makeovers. Just focus on those healthy habits and you'll be surprised by the results.
Love that. It's empowering to know that we do have some control over our financial futures, even with all the craziness going on in the world.
Absolutely. Stay informed, be proactive, and focus on what you can control.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Remember to stay curious, stay informed, and keep making those smart financial choices. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the news that matters most to you.